History of Quebec. Quebec is one of the oldest cities in Canada. Quebec is a Canadian province or port. It is one of the oldest cities of Canada that celebrated its 400th anniversary in the year 2008. It is popular for its stone buildings, rich French-Canadian culture, cobblestone streets, and fortifications. It is one of the only walled cities remaining in North America north of Mexico and has been recognized as the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985. Quebec has a particular Old World character and appeal. Quebec has remains that remind of the history it carries. Let's jump into the old times and look at the events that have influenced the region, shaped its culture and nation. History. Around 10,000 years back, the Algonquin and Iroquois were the first to set foot in present-day Quebec. The Iroquois were the farmers who used to plant sunflowers, corn, and beans around the St. Lawrence Valley for quite a long time before Quebec's initially reported European visitors, French traveler Jacques Cartier, showed up in 1534. Cartier spent his first Quebec winter at the Cartier-Brebeuf National Historic Site of Canada, 175 de l'Espine Street, Quebec City, where currently the model of the merchant ship and Iroquois longhouse stands. The 1500s. In 1535, Cartier cruised along the St. Lawrence River past two Iroquoian towns named Stadacona, near present-day Quebec City, and Hochelaga on the island of Montreal. Quebec's first French settlement, Charlesbourg Royal, was set up close to the present-day Quebec City suburb of Cap Rouge in 1541. The brutal winter climate and Iroquois outbreaks made the settlement of 400 individuals to be deserted right after the year it was established. The 1600s. The new North American region of France was neglected at large until 1608, the year Samuel de Champlain established the Quebec City, the first permanent settlement of the province and perhaps the oldest city on the whole continent. Despite numerous deaths from starvation, bone-chilling winter, starvation, and illness, the population of the new colonies steadily developed, yet at a much slower rate than neighboring British North America. The 18th century. By the mid-18th century, the new population of France was 60,000, while the 13 provinces which would turn into the United States bragged over 1 million individuals inside a much smaller space. In 1756, New France turned into a landmark during the 7 Years' War, which ended in the 1759 Plains of Abraham battle outside of the walls of the Quebec City. Today, Abraham's Plains, 835, Wilfrid Laurier Avenue, Quebec City, houses an intelligent pavilion discovery. The French General Louis Joseph and British General James Wolfe, Marquis de Montcalm, were mortally injured during this critical fight. After 4 years, New France and most other French North American regions were surrendered to Great Britain in the Treaty of Paris. The British passed the Quebec Act of 1774, giving their French-speaking subjects the option to rehearse their faith in Catholic and French law in order to tie down their loyalty and alliance to the British even with developing distress in the 13 provinces. American Revolutionary officers staged an invasion of Montreal that was unsuccessful in 1775. The 19th century. Later, after the American Revolution, the region or territory known as the Lower Canada invited and warmly welcomed the numerous English-speaking Loyalists close by its majority share of the French-speaking population. The vast majority of the Loyalists got comfortable with the Montreal and the eastern townships to its south. The British armed force finished the 1837 and 1838 Lower Canada Rebellion, bringing about the association of Upper and Lower Canada into a single territory. In 1864, 3 years later, the Quebec City facilitated the Second Fathers of Confederation meeting, and Quebec grew into one of the 4 original regions of Canada. Wilfrid Laurier turned into the first Canadian Quebecois Prime Minister in 1896. For a long time, Quebec was a generally provincial region whose fundamental ventures and industries were farming and foresting. The 20th century. The 1960s Quiet Revolution peacefully changed Quebec from a general traditionalist Catholic culture to a common and liberal society with a developing feeling of patriotism and nationalism, bringing about the 1976 elections of the Part 1 Québécois, a provincial political party supporting the freedom of Quebec from the leftover of Canada. The residents of Quebec twice dismissed Quebec power during the 1980 and 1995 referendums regarding the matter. There has been a lot of discussions and debates on the alliance and relationship between Quebec and the rest of Canada since the time Quebec was the lone Canadian territory not to sign Canada's 1982 Constitution. Nonetheless, discussion regarding the power and sovereignty has been set aside for later since Canada's House of Commons passed a 2006 movement announcing the Québécois as a nation within a unified Canada. Conclusion. Despite the fact that Quebec previously became the territory of the British in 1759 and joined the prevalently English-speaking nation of Canada in 1867, the 1774 Quebec Act allowed its French Catholic greater population to protect their language, religion, and French common law code right up till the present time. Quebec, be that as it may, has had a critical English-speaking population since the 18th century and has entertained developing quantities of immigrants from around the globe.